Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something, well, a little bit out there. We're going to embark on this really unique, almost meditative journey. Basically, we're taking a highly abstract set of transcription data from two sources about pranayama, and we're piecing it together. Instead of a normal story, we've got raw, fragmented data. I'm talking scattered numbers, isolated English words, and broken Arabic sentences. It's kind of like a giant puzzle. But together, we're going to see how we can actually extract some pretty profound human meaning from what basically just looks like digital noise. All right, let's just dive right into this abstract journey of consciousness. Section 1. The meaning of life, finding signal in the noise. So we're jumping right into this surreal source text, and honestly, it's absolutely fascinating how these deep, profound ideas manage to hide inside such a fragmented string of words. And that brings us to our first real philosophical question. What is life? If we strip away all the context, all the normal visual elements, and literally just look at the raw data, how do we make sense of the fundamental questions of our existence? So take a deep breath and let's just set a nice, calm pace for this exploration. The very first fragment we hit in the Arabic transcript translates to just one word, life. Let's just let that stark simplicity sink in for a second. In the middle of this totally chaotic sea of unstructured letters and numbers, this one core defining human concept somehow pushes its way right to the surface. Now, what's really wild is how we can put that huge, emotional concept of life right up against the rigid, reoccurring numbers we found deep in the transcript. For instance, the number 100 pops up multiple times right at the top of our data. It creates this striking contrast, right? You've got the immeasurable, messy human experience on one side and these hard, repetitive, cold data points on the other. Moving on to Section 2, Mind and Reality, Questioning Perception. So what do we actually know? This is a question directly inspired by some of the scattered English fragments in our source data. We literally see the word know just floating there twice in the text, totally disconnected from any real sentence. It kind of forces us to reflect on certainty itself. What can we truly know when we're looking at such incomplete information? The whole point here is trying to find what is truly real. Just look at that word real. It's another exact English word we pulled directly from this chaotic ocean of data, sitting right next to other random isolated syllables like con, only, and in. It's almost as if the transcript itself is waking up and trying to process reality right through the static. And that brings us to easily one of the most compelling lines in the entire dataset. Translated from the Arabic portion, we get this exact quote. My mind is doing what? I absolutely love this. I'm just reading it to you totally deadpan because it so perfectly captures that beautiful, chaotic confusion of the human mind at work. It's just trying so hard to make sense of the digital noise all around it. Section 3. A Journey from Egypt. Geographical Fragments. Okay, so now I want to map out this literal sequence of geographical and conversational fragments that popped up in the text. It forms this bizarre sort of itinerary. Let's look at this timeline and see how it builds. We start with life, then move to the mind working, and then, out of nowhere, we hit an Arabic fragment that translates to walking from Egypt. Finally, ends with a phrase about trying to compensate our days. Sure, it sounds entirely disjointed, but when you arrange it like this, a really strange and captivating narrative actually begins to form. Taking a closer look at that third step, we get this completely disjointed conversational snippet. Come on, guys, walking from Egypt. We're presenting this to you exactly as is. I want you to interpret its abstract meaning for yourself. We definitely don't need to force some rigid explanation onto it. Honestly, it just feels like the essence of movement and human conversation got trapped inside the algorithm's code. But then, we suddenly pause. We hit another stark standalone number from the data, 20. This keeps that rhythmic visual pattern going for us. And it's a sharp contrast, right? That warm, human, conversational journey we were just on gets abruptly interrupted by cold, hard numbers all over again. Section 4. The Search for Peace. Resolution and tranquility. Let's completely shift the tone here for a second. We're going to focus on resolution and tranquility as we look at the second half of this fragmented data. But right before we find that piece, the text throws another specific frequency at us, the number 15. Notice how the pacing is getting a bit more meditative, a bit more minimalist? The data is actually slowing down. The gaps between the fragmented thoughts are widening, which gives us space for real reflection. And this next piece brilliantly illustrates just how poetic translation can be. From the scattered Arabic words, we get this phrase, "Peace be upon you, our Lord like this today." We're treating this as a profound resolution to all the chaotic data we've been sorting through so far. It feels like this sudden burst of spiritual clarity, just completely breaking through the digital static. So we're just going to let the word stand completely alone here. Peace. It perfectly shows how the noise of the text, the random numbers, the confused questions about what the mind is doing, the totally disjointed travel plans, it all eventually distills down into this one simple, universal desire for serenity. Section 5, the present moment, culminating in the present. As we start to wrap up this abstract journey, I really want to emphasize how all these disjointed words, concepts, and numbers ultimately culminate right here, in the present. We see the final recurring number from our source data, 30. This brings the whole rhythmic, data-driven breakdown to a pretty mesmerizing close. The pulse of the numbers, the hundreds, the 20s, the 15s, it's all finally fading out. And we end on this singular, fleeting word found right at the very end of the text, moment. What an absolutely perfect way to close this out. It leaves us with a final, provocative thought. Isn't this entire explainer, just like the source data itself, really just a transient experience? A brief alignment of fragments in the current moment? Finding meaning in the noise is what the human mind does best. I really hope this abstract journey sparks some curiosity for you today. Keep looking for those hidden connections, and we'll see you on the next explainer.